You have to take a risk.
Yeah, no, you're right.
You have to. It's like when I decided to go back to Cleveland, I wasn't totally sure they was going to welcome me back, man. But they did. They welcomed me back with open arms and an open heart.
Yeah, they did. Again, I feel like that applies more to you. I don't even live in Cleveland. But again, I appreciate the thought.
Cleveland, Ohio? You talking about the home of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Or maybe we go down to Canton to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You know Superman was created in Cleveland?
Yeah, no, I know Superman was created in Cleveland. You've told me that a number of times.
You ever see Cuyahoga Sunset?
No.
Do you know Cleveland's great for the whole family?
Yes, I do. You tell me that all the time. You randomly just text me that.
And what's wrong with that?
Weird. It's weird.
I got free texting.
Why are you trying to always sell me on Cleveland?
When are you going to come to Cleveland?
I'll come when I have the time. I just don't have the time right now. I'll come when I have the time. I've just been really busy.
You visit me in Miami all the time.
Yeah, but that's Miami.
What's the difference between Miami and Cleveland? It's the same.
You're right, it's the same.
Exactly.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 7 of the Pseudo Nerd Podcast for February 19th, 2016. I am your podcast host, Josh Kiser, and joining me today are the usual suspects, Josh Haddix.
Hello, everybody.
Now, keeping yourself from giggling there too much. And Kyle Hoagland.
You know what? I felt like he had to hold it back a little bit. He took a deep breath.
I did. You know what it was? I was thinking of something to call our fan. I don't even think it's correct to make that plural yet. Like pseudo-nerders. Would they be pseudo-nerders?
I feel like pseudo-nerds works.
But are they... I mean, yeah, because nerders, what is a nerder?
It's not like we're nerding. We're
pseudo-nerdites.
Why would you make a noun another noun, like a super noun?
Like the pseudo-nerdaholics?
Yeah. Because it's cool, Hougie, all right? Hey, sorry, bro.
Maybe our P&Pers out there?
Yeah, exactly.
I like P&Pers.
How about just P-Pers?
What, the pseudo podcasters?
Maybe P&Pers is the best. I don't know. That's what I was thinking about. So,
you know what? How about those P&Pers that are out there? Why don't you guys tweet at us and let us know your thoughts, or give us a little comment on Facebook?
I mean, you can calm down, Kiser. I mean, they're nice people. You don't have to yell at these people.
They can give us your feedback, guys. Let us know what you want us to call you. You know, that's what we want to hear.
Someone needs to before this podcast hits, we have to get a hold of Twitter and let them know that there's going to be a mad rush at our Twitter handle. There's going to be all
that's true. The server overload could be critical there.
We need to make sure that that's taken care of before this podcast hits. So,
absolutely, and that is at Pseudo Nerd Pod for those of you that are going to find us on Twitter. Our Facebook page is Pseudo Nerd Podcast. YouTube, Instagram. I think at Instagram we're Pseudo Nerd Pod. A couple other locations. Just Google Pseudo Nerd Podcast. You'll find us. Like us. Subscribe on iTunes. Give us that 5-star rating and leave a comment so people can find us outside of the many, many PNPers that we already have.
We are just all over that internet.
We really are. And again, just want another quick shout out to Brady Krueger for that theme music. Go follow him at Brady Krueger on Twitter or follow him on SoundCloud. Give him a little shout out there. We always appreciate his work. But how are you guys doing?
Good. Enjoying the not snow, I guess. Although it's on the ground, it just hasn't snowed the past couple of days, so I'm enjoying that. That's for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't know because I had not. I was in Kalamazoo, Michigan this week.
On your birthday. No, they're all the way. Happy belated 31st.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Josh Kiser.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It was, not many people get to say that they spent their birthdays watching cows get slaughtered, but that was how I spent mine. Much like my original birth, I was covered in blood when I walked out of that. So, it's one way to celebrate.
Great visual.
It took you 31 years to come full circle.
Absolutely. So... But other than that, got got a lot of birthday wishes and shout outs on Facebook and text messages and things like that. So always appreciate all that. Yeah, that's about all I can say about my birthday.
You gotta appreciate Facebook. I think that is more important for people knowing your birthday than I think actually people knowing you.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, something anyways.
I always get happy birthdays from like people from our graduating class of 2003, Go Comets, and from people I probably haven't seen since the day I got my diploma. And it's always kind of weird just to, because they're just doing it because they just got a notification. It has nothing to do with the fact that you even spoke a word to this person in the past, what was it now, 13 years?
Well, that's fair. But also, if nothing else, for at least 5 seconds of their day, they thought about you. They're like, that Kyle Hoagland guy I graduated with? He just became a year older today. So, hi, Kyle. I remember we had, math class together, and there was a memory there somewhere.
It's probably better than what they might have thought before then, so.
Right. Or they'll, wish you happy birthday, and they're like, man, I don't remember this guy whatsoever. But we're Facebook friends, so I guess I got to say happy birthday.
It's like, wow, that guy really let go after high school.
Well, it happens.
Life happens and you become Spider-Man.
Exactly. And for those of you who don't get that reference, listen to last week's podcast, the Valentine's Day.
Pseudo Nerd Podcast.
But all the true PNPers will know what we're talking about. And speaking of which, I guess we should probably discuss this for a minute. So we've gotten some feedback, and one of the feedbacks was, why are we doing this podcast? What is the point behind it? And it's a fair question, and we sort of touch base on it with the pseudo nerd. We want to kind of talk nerdy topics, but not get too involved because we're not experts on any of these topics. As you'll hear today, and as you've heard in the past, especially if you listen to Kyle's Super Bowl preview episode, you'll know that we don't always know what we're talking about. And our goal here, I think, what we're going to try to do going forward is make these episodes, whatever the topic is, entertaining for everybody. So if you're not a fan of Star Wars, maybe we can do enough to make you a fan, or make you at least appreciate what you watched. Or if you've got a boyfriend or a girlfriend that is a fan of that particular thing, I think, we're going to try to make it easy to understand without getting too convoluted, without getting too detailed, without getting too hardcore nerdy. And I think this direction will be best for business. And you guys can give us your feedback on that as well. I don't know if you guys have anything you want to add to that.
Sometimes we can get a little, I think we all knew that was still what we want to do when we did the podcast. Sometimes maybe we just get really, I guess, a little too much in depth. I said one of the examples I know that Kiser had given me was during the Star Wars one. I was talking a lot about the Death Star and how much it could have theoretically cost. And I picked that because I thought that would actually be somewhat interesting because it's trying to create kind of a real world thing. But I kind of delved into it too much where it just, I don't know. I don't think it really came off as actually anything entertaining. And that's what we're trying to do. Everything that we talk about should be entertaining first. And then there's nothing really informational that we're going to give you that you couldn't easily just get off of a website somewhere else with better sources. So the best thing that we can do is either laugh about it, talk about it in a lighthearted sense, and bring our own spin to it. And that's really what the goal is about this podcast.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the direction we meant to go. Might have gotten a little off track, but if we just make it a more conscious effort to do that, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, I think so too. So hopefully we're able to do that. I'm sure at some points we're gonna get it a little nerdy because that is part of the podcast. But we're gonna try to keep at least kind of holster ourselves a bit, which isn't actually the word I want to use, but I can't think of the word I want to use right now. But we'll see. So again, always appreciate the feedback. leave it on any form of social media that we're on, and we'll be sure to look at it, respond, and hopefully bring you a product you guys are proud of. And this week's episode is going to be the NBA. We're going to it's the midway point. Actually, the second half of the season, I think, tipped off tonight, and we're going to sort of review the season as it has been so far. We're going to talk about the All-Star game because that was sort of the it's the midpoint, it's the break, and the trade deadline just finished, so that's a good time. It's a good time to discuss everything, and we're probably going to focus on the Cavs specifically. We'll talk a little bit about the NBA as a whole. As Clevelanders, we know the most about the Cavs. I'll be the first to admit, football's a sport I know in and out. Basketball is a sport that I enjoy watching, but I am by no means a hardcore fan. I don't know every player on every team, so I can only talk so much about it myself. But we'll see how this all goes today.
I think Hougie and I are, well, I guess I shouldn't speak for Hougie. Basically in the same boat you are, so not an expert on anything NBA related.
From especially coming from the Super Bowl episode, please don't take anything I say as if I know anything. But I always say basketball, especially now that the NFL's over, I kind of put a little more emphasis on watching, especially the Cavs. Although I don't get to watch much of it out here because I'm out on the West Coast, so I have to watch the other good team play, which is the Warriors. And they're fun to watch, but I definitely look forward to when the Cavs are on national television like tonight.
Yeah, as I say, you're lucky with the Cavs having LeBron James. You'll see a decent amount of primetime games, but obviously you won't get to see all the small market games and stuff. But here we are. It's the midpoint of the season. There's a couple major storylines. I guess we can start with the least prevalent when it comes to this season, but just it's a huge basketball story together, and it's Kobe announced, I don't think it was at the beginning of the year, but I think it was first month or so in, that this is his final season. Haddix, I know that you were a Kobe fan. How do you feel about this?
Well, I mean, I love Kobe Bryant, and I used to, I guess you could call me I wouldn't even say front runner. I was never really a Lakers fan. I was more of it's kind of like the whole Tom Brady Patriots thing. Like, as soon as Tom Brady's not on the Patriots, I'm not going to care about the Patriots. Similar with the Lakers. I followed him a lot back when him and Shaq were winning championships. That was a good time. But it's sad. He's definitely not the player he used to be. So as far as retiring when he should, I think it's a good time. I think he realized that this season wasn't going to go anywhere. So I think he did not say this was his last season going into the season. I think a month or so in, whenever it was exactly, I think it was when he realized the Lakers probably weren't even going to make the playoffs just with how many good teams are in the West. And so he was like, you know what? I might as well just hang it up. I'm not getting any younger. He definitely can't keep up with the young guys like he used to. So I think it's smart. And I enjoy seeing all these teams when it's his last time playing in that city, like when he just came to Cleveland a couple weeks ago. I enjoy seeing, the fans and the players just respecting him. Whether you liked him or not when he played, whether you're a fan of Kobe Bryant, the person, with all the bad publicity he got there for a little while. He is a great basketball player. Definitely one of the greatest of our generation. So I think it's nice. I think it's cool when you see these teams and these fans just kind of tipping their hat to him and showing his stats and all this kind of stuff before the games start. And it's really cool. I really like it.
I agree with that. I like that, he is a once-in-a-generation type player. He'll finish his career, and you can argue somewhere in the top 5, top 10 all time for all, basketball players. Probably next to Jordan, the best shooting guard. I'm glad that other teams are recognizing him, but I'm even happier that they're not going the Mariano Rivera route where every single city like gives him a gift and makes this big thing. Like I think that was a little overboard when they did that for his like farewell tour. And I like Kobe. They're acknowledging it. Fans are acknowledging it, but they're not going overboard with it.
Yeah, I agree. It's basically the last game in the city. Like, he's not playing in Cleveland anymore as an LA Laker or at all. But so the last game he's here, his stats, this is what he's achieved, which is amazing, the stuff he's achieved. Everyone claps, yada, yada, and then boom, the game starts. You know what I mean? It's not some, huge ordeal like you said where they're giving him things and I don't know. Yeah,
right.
That was a little over the top.
Kyle, how about you? What do you think about Kobe?
I mean, I enjoyed Kobe. I feel kind of bad the last three, maybe even 4 seasons have been really, marred with injury with him. I don't think he's really finished a season past couple of years. So I think the only thing I'm really rooting for is that he at least can finish the season healthy, and that way he can, kind of enjoy this season. I think that's kind of when you're in your last one. Like I remember when Jordan retired, when he was the final time when he was playing for the Wizards. And he was actually still a pretty good player. I'm pretty sure he probably could have played another couple of years and still would have been a starter on any team. But it was just his time to stop playing. And he had a lot of fun. I remember like watching clips of like the last game he played. I think he played the 76ers. And it was just like, it was a really good send off. And I do agree with the same thing you guys are saying about Mariano Rivera and Derek Jeter. And I don't know if that precedent was set before them. Like maybe that's just what baseball does. I have no idea. It's been a long time since I remembered somebody as iconic as, those two, retiring in that way. Because, a lot of the other guys have they just get released. A lot of baseball players don't really get the chance to retire. They kind of just get washed away. And so I think it's all a very, that's kind of reserved for a very select group of people to get that kind of send off. So I don't think it was overdone. I just think it's reserved for, certain people. And also I think it might just be just a different,
just the culture of baseball. Yeah. I see what you're saying. And it's a valid point. And you're right. They don't do it for everybody. They do it for these once in a lifetime kind of players that, you can tell your grandkids, hey, I saw this guy play live. I saw this, he was the best of the best. He'll be in the record books for forever.
And you can only do that with either all-time greats or guys that were so iconic with that team. If Kobe were as good as he is and was traded around to different teams, maybe he doesn't get this kind of,
sort of how Shaq was, if you will.
Yeah, Shaq I think will actually go down, in my opinion. And once again, this is my opinion, and Kobe's great. I still think Shaq is in the upper echelon even more than Kobe is overall. And Shaq kind of, he got, once again, his last 4 or 5 years, he was being thrown around different teams, and he kind of just slowly,
he was ring chasing.
Yeah, he was just seeing if he can get on a team that can get a championship. So, and to no fault of his, but if he stayed on one team and was like the iconic player, I think he would have gotten a similar send-off, just like someone like Jeter or Mariano Rivera, who pretty much played for the Yankees their whole career.
Right, and yeah, that's to Kobe's credit. Other than being drafted by the Hornets, he's played the Lakers from day one, and never, even in the bad seasons, this one including, he stuck with it. Now, all that said, how do you guys feel about Kobe? I mean, this is... Obviously, the Lakers aren't going anywhere this year, and it's sort of the Kobe show. He's going to chuck up 30 shots a game because that's what people want to see. But is it fair to the rest of the team that are there, trying to compete, grow, learn together, whatever, that this is just the Kobe show and they're just kind of secondary to it all?
Well, I don't think they really have any kind of true path in what they're doing anyways in LA. It's a bizarro world over there with the Clippers, and how for years and years the Clippers were irrelevant, and now it's kind of, it's definitely taken a 180 at this point. And once again, Kobe got that big contract extension, knowing that he is definitely on the twilight of his career and it wasn't going to probably live up to the expectations. He basically got paid to be Kobe. He wasn't paid to win championships. It was almost like he was being paid as like a, I've done this much for you. You owe me this money. It wasn't like, here's the money. Now I expect you to do work. And it really did hinder the rest of the team because how are you supposed to get good talent? So it's like they paid Kobe knowing that for the next couple of years they were going to suck just to keep him happy.
Yeah, and it'll be unfortunate to see him leave, but I think the biggest crime is we never saw the LeBron versus Kobe finals. I think those are the two best of this generation, or the past two generations, and it would have been nice to see that. And I think the closest we got was it 2007? The Lakers made it, and the Cavs lost to the Magic, and that was probably our best shot at it. But oh well, we've probably spent enough time talking about Kobe. He's on a team that's not going anywhere, and the other big storylines right now are going to be the teams that are going somewhere. And the first of those two teams is the Warriors, Kyle, which, living out in the Bay Area, they're 48-4 right now, the best record after 52 games. What's your thoughts on them, and more importantly, because you're out there, what's the feeling out there? Is there a lot of talk about can they break the Bulls record, the 95-96 Bulls record, or what?
It's real weird talking to people about the Warriors and also listening to sports radio, which I love listening to sports radio, something that my wife is obviously a huge fan of when I listen to it in the car. They pretty much assume that the Warriors have no reason to lose any games at this point. A lot of people are saying that they see maybe 2 games on the schedule that they're scared of, and that's that they're playing the Spurs at San Antonio, and I think they got to play the Thunder at OKC. Other than that, they're a decent, at least 4 to 5 point favorite in every game, even home or away. So with that said, I mean, math says they break the record. As far as people out here, it's weird because I'm used to being from Cleveland and hearing people from Cleveland talk about Cleveland sports and almost how insensitized or desensitized we are out there. But over here in the Bay Area, there's not even really that much excitement. It's almost like people are just waiting, like almost like the regular season doesn't matter. And really it doesn't. There's so many teams that make the playoffs.
To be fair, we're kind of doing the same thing in Cleveland with LeBron. We know that we're just waiting for the playoffs to come.
Yeah, I guess, but and that's why I always tell them, like, it's strange because the West Conference is so stacked right now. As good as the Warriors are, and as maybe on a whole other league that they alone might be, they still have to find a way to get through OKC or San Antonio. I doubt they got to play both because they're all probably going to be a top 4 seed.
Yeah, so right. I mean, it's likely they'll only see one of them.
Right. So it's a lot of people are over here saying that they don't care who's coming from the East. They're saying that the West Conference championship is going to be the true championship, which it's hard to say no to it, but you got to give the respect at least. I would say at least the Raptors and the Cavs might have a prayer. Cavs much more, but the West Coast is definitely much stronger.
Yeah, and I agree that, I mean, the Warriors start has been insane. Steph Curry's playing better than a video game character can play. I mean, the way the shots he's hitting sometimes is just absurd. But I looked at so they've got 30 games left, and they need to go 25-5 the rest of the season in order to break the all-time record. They play 16 of their 30 games remaining are against playoff teams. 12 of those 16 are Western Conference playoff teams, which, to your point, the Western Conference is stronger. And they've got the Spurs 3 times, Thunder twice, Clippers twice. So, I mean, it's not by any stretch of the imagination unthought of for them not to break this record. Like, for them to lose, 7 of these remaining 16 playoff games that they, and who knows, injuries could happen, things like that. In all seriousness, if Draymond Green or Steph Curry goes down, that team's done. So, I mean, it's a matter of how healthy they can stay too, but I don't know.
It's also a testament how good that team is without having Steve Kerr there coaching the majority of the season. I mean, they had ex-Cavalier Luke Walton.
You mean future Coach of the Year, MVP Luke Walton?
You know what? I felt
Luke Walton is the Porkins of the NBA.
Ding, ding, ding. I felt bad that he couldn't coach the All-Star game because I mean the only reason why he couldn't because you had to be on. I forgot what the ruling was on it, but you had to be on the coaching staff last year, and I don't know if he was last year.
Yeah, he was.
So I'm trying to figure out why they just let Popovich do it, especially when Tyronn Lue ended up just coaching for the East, even though he just started.
I'm not sure why. Well, I know, the Tyronn Lue thing. We can get to that in a little bit, but there's a lot of controversy there. I think Luke Walton was assistant there last year, but I don't know. Haddix, how do you feel about the Warriors' start?
I mean, there's not much to add that you and Hougie haven't said. I mean, if they end up finishing the year with the best record, you'll have to tip your hat to them, whether they win the championship or not. But I will reserve. It might be because I'm a little homer here and they beat us last year, but I'll reserve any judgment or any praise until afterwards because getting hot at the right time is very important. Now, if they stay hot the whole season and win, hey, more power to them. But there's, like you said, chances of injuries, chances of a lot of things happening, and starting off 48-4 won't mean shit if you don't win the championship. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. I think that's what happened with the Sixers back in the day. I might be wrong on that, but they had one of the best starts of all time after like 50 games, and I don't think they won that year. And you become forgotten about. You're
I mean, if you look it up in a stat book, you'll find it, but no one will really care. Like, oh, cool.
It's like the year the Cavs went, what was that, 66 and 16 or whatever or my math's off right now. But we had like a fantastic record, dominated. We didn't even make it to the finals that year. So, and it's pretty much forgotten about other than, Cleveland fans because was one of our best regular season finishes. But it's, to your point, if you don't win it all, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And the other biggest storyline right now is with the Cavaliers, the other team, the other potential finals team. And they fired David Blatt after a year and a half of coaching, took us to the finals last year. We were first in the Eastern Conference when he was let go. And
had just won a game.
Yeah, he had just won. I mean, he was blown out by 30 to the Golden State Warriors 3 or 4 days prior, but then they won a game, and then he's fired. Yeah. So how shocked were you about that firing, Haddix?
I mean, I think it was pretty shocking. I think it was pretty shocking to anybody unless you had some type of inside knowledge. I mean, was Kevin, I almost said Kevin Blatt. Was David Blatt the best head coach ever? No. He actually, and I didn't even know, so I looked it up. I know he was only here for a short period of time, but he had the best winning percentage of any coach in our franchise history. I mean, I know it's a very small
sample size, but still, season and a half.
Yeah, I mean, only first head coach fired for having while having the best record in their conference. Like, it just, if he got fired after the Warriors lost, maybe it's slightly less shocking, but still kind of shocking. And then the reasonings that they gave for it just kind of all seemed like bullshit to me. I don't know who knows what's really going on behind the scenes, who has say in it, who pulls the strings. I don't know, but it just all seemed a little hokey to me. So, and I don't know how smart firing a coach in the middle of the year is, unless it's just, really, he's a really, really bad influence or something like that, which if he's that bad, why wasn't he fired after last year?
So, right. Absolutely. Is there? So I take it you don't agree with the move?
I mean, I like getting rid of Blatt doesn't bother me. I just don't know if in the middle of a season where we are the best in our conference was the best idea. Now, again, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I think they came out with some stuff that said like the locker room atmosphere wasn't good, which if that's the case, then I guess that's a good reason, but I don't know. It just all seemed weird. I don't know. I don't know how good Lou is as a replacement either. Is he that much better than David Blatt? I don't know.
Let's hope he's not a loser, right?
Well, see you guys later.
We'll just wrap things up right here after that.
But yeah, so I don't know much about like in depth about him, but it just seemed weird to me. The whole thing seemed weird to me. So
yeah, I agree. Hougie, do you have any thoughts? Do you care? Were you upset by it? Were you?
It's unprecedented. Like you guys already said, when you have the best record in the conference, I think that three things happen. One, they honestly felt that they would be better off with Tyronn Lue. I mean, that's what you hope that the reason why they fired him is that they think that this makes the team better. There have been a lot of talk saying that the team, for the most part, was listening to Tyronn Lue. Like that the actual coach on the team and the guy that actually the team rallied around was Tyronn Lue. So it just made sense to make the decision. The other one was, everyone's going to make the rumors that, LeBron said something or LeBron wanted to get rid of him. And, LeBron's the
GM LeBron.
GM LeBron want to get rid of him. And then obviously the other thing is, they got destroyed by the Warriors at home. It was embarrassing. And in the end, I don't think the Cavs really care too much about the East Conference. I think they got a team that's good enough that you're not going to beat them in a 7-game series. So they're going to play whoever is going to be in the Western Conference. So they need to figure out how to beat the Warriors. And clearly they must have thought that after that 30-point, just embarrassment at home, that it had to do something with Blatt, and they had to make a decision. I'm not a fan of it, but I totally get why they did it.
Yeah, I agree. I wasn't crazy about it. As the season's starting to continue, it doesn't seem like it negatively has affected them up to this point, so I think I'll be okay with it. That said, there was one other big move now that the trade deadline's over that the Cavs made, and it was probably one of the biggest moves as far as the trades go. And that was them acquiring Channing Frye from the Magic in a 3-team deal. And the big news for Cavs fans, we gave up Andy Varejao. So what do you guys think of the move?
I was okay with it. I like Andy. He's a hustler. And, it's nice to have that player on your team. But I don't know if he... Again, going back to what Hougie was saying, when your goal is to beat a team like the Golden State Warriors, you kind of need someone a little bit better than Andy. You need someone who can actually score. And again, I don't know much about this guy because I don't pay attention to much of the NBA other than the Cavs, but apparently he's a really good outside shooter, which is what you want when LeBron James and Kyrie Irving are, penetrating.
Yeah, I think he's shooting about 40% from the beyond the arc this year.
So I mean, if you have him and you have Kevin Love out on the outside, two big guys that you have to respect, it does open things up. So I'll give him that. And I don't know how good he is. Like I said, I don't pay much attention, but I'm okay with it. I mean, I'll miss Andy. He was a loyal. It was like when we got rid of Z. Like, you like the guy because he was a loyal Cavs guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was here for the good, and then he was here for the bad, the losing streaks, all that. And you feel bad. The guy was hurt a lot through part of his career too. Yeah. And it's finally, I think at this one of those, if the Cavs win this year, like they would still get him a ring one way or the other. But to your point about Z, in case somebody is out there thinking, hey, remember that time we traded Z Then the team waived him for, contract reasons, money, all that. And then we re-signed Z to get him back on our team. If they think that they're going to do that with Andy, because it looks like Portland, who acquired him in the 3-team trade, is going to release him. We can't sign him. There's actually the Z rule that came into effect because they basically thought that was bullshit the way the Cavs worked around it. And it was just something you could always do in the NBA. The team that drops the player or traded the player cannot re-sign him until a full calendar year. Or at least until the full season's over. So Andy will not be playing for the Cavs for the rest of the year. So just to clarify that, if anybody out there thought maybe we would get him back. Kyle, you gonna miss Z? You gonna miss Andy?
I'm still missing Z and Trajan Langdon and Vitaly Potapico or whoever else was on that team. I'll miss him, but he didn't play. That's really the reality of it. Was he was getting paid a pretty good amount of money. Like I don't feel bad for him because Cleveland took care of that guy. He got paid
they did.
a pretty good amount of money. Everyone loved him. It wasn't like he was outcasted. He had some really bad injuries. He had that, he had a blood clot issue, and he had a lot of serious things where you have to take care of yourself before you can play basketball. And I think the only thing I feel bad about is I think it would have been nice that if we were to win a title, that he would be on the team to get a ring, just because he's been here for 12 years and he was the longest tenured Cleveland, sports player on any of the teams, and God knows how long I can even remember. So yeah, I'll miss him, and I'm not even saying we're getting like an all-star. I did look at the stats of Channing Frye, and I think the stats don't tell the whole story, because it says he averages 5 points a game, and the last 5 games I think that his scoring was 7-0-2-0-5-0. So, and once again, I'm sure that doesn't tell the whole story, and who knows how we're going to use him. But if we actually use him, then he's obviously a better choice, because we literally weren't using Varejao.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the people that are upset about losing Varejao is more of a nostalgia, because he was, fought here with Cleveland for so long, and you hate to see the guy go because he was here through it all, much like the fans.
When you're the spokesperson for Mr. Hero and you have to go, you feel sad, because
Brian Hoyer was a spokesperson for Mr. Hero, so we know how that went.
I guess that's true, but usually once you get the Mr. Hero endorsement, it kind of plays the role of you're the homer, and so it kind of sucks to see people like that go.
I always thought Andy Varejao was more Sideshow Bob, not Homer, but whatever.
You know what? I would expect that more out of Haddix, actually, not from you.
Dude, I'll tip your hat on that one. That was a Deece metaphor. I don't know if that's the proper simile metaphor. I don't know, but it was good. It was real good.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. As far as other trade news, I think the biggest news to me was that Dwight Howard was not traded. There was a lot of talks that he was, they were trying to trade him, trying to get rid of him, and they did not. That said, the Rockets did dump a couple of their good players. Detroit got him. Detroit's looking to try to make a move into the playoffs. And I guess the biggest news there with Houston is last year Houston finished the number 2 seed in the West, and James Harden was, right there for the MVP lead, MVP votes, all that. And now they're not going to make the playoffs, especially now after this trade. They're sub 500, and James Harden is maybe going to set the single season record for the most turnovers. What a turnaround. Do you guys care about Houston at all? Do you even want to discuss this, or just worth noting?
The only thing I'll say about them is that it's once again, I mentioned this when we were talking about the NFL. It's crazy the kind of the turnaround of coaches, especially when, once again, David Blatt, he gets fired. He's there while he had the best record in the Western Conference. Then you got a guy, then you got the coach from Houston. What's his name? Was this old ex-Celtic?
It wasn't McHale, was it?
Yeah, Kevin McHale. Yeah, he was the coach, and so he comes in last year with the second best record in the Western Conference, which is nothing to it's something to put your hat on, especially in the Western Conference.
It's like a head of hair.
Exactly, and you lose to what would end up being the champions and the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. And then you come in this year and you get a rocky start and you get fired. It's just to me, that's such a strange thing to happen to someone who clearly has proven that he can lead his team to, at the very least, relevancy and to borderline being a real legit team. So it's just weird how things turn around like that in such a fast, it's just a short period of time.
Right. I think it reminds me a lot of when the Cavs. Was it 2008 or 2009 when the Cavs lost to the Celtics? LeBron kind of gave up that whole thing where they came in, everyone thought this was going to be the year, and it just fell apart and turned into nothing in the playoffs. I feel like it's sort of that season that Houston's having.
Did we fire Coach Brown and then LeBron left? I thought we almost fired him almost with we felt like we had.
We did because we tried to bring was that when Byron Scott was hired then, and we tried to bring him in as hey LeBron, we're going to do something different, but it didn't help obviously. All right, so good talk, guys. What?
It was the Rockets. I mean, there's not there. It's either there's not much to talk about, or really, I don't think we really give two shits.
Right? No, I agree.
After that 5-minute speech,
so
we're not going to talk about Peyton HGH, guys.
That's right. Let's talk about the All-Star game. For what it's worth, I think that the NBA's All-Star Weekend is above and beyond the best of the major sports when it comes to that sort of all-stars playing the whole weekend. You got the dunk contest, which, did you guys watch this year's dunk contest with Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine?
I did not watch it live, but
did you see the highlights of it anyways?
Yes.
Dude, the fact that Aaron Gordon did not win for that dunk where he was basically sitting in midair is ridiculous to me.
To me, that is the best dunk this year, possibly in a while, and I think he should have won because of that alone. Don't get me wrong. Is it Levine or Levine? I don't know.
Levine. I don't know.
Levine. He also had some amazing dunks, but
he did. Absolutely.
One was so original. It's so hard to come up with an original dunk after so many years, and that was just so cool. I don't know how he did.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to next year's with those two back because I think they tore the house down.
Yeah, agreed.
It's been a long time since we've had two guys going at it in a dunk contest. I can think of maybe two where it was a legitimate, it almost seemed like a friendly rivalry type of thing. You had Olajuwon, my God, Dominique Wilkins. I was thinking Keem and Dominique. So I kind of got Dominique Wilkins and Jordan was an obvious one where they were going back and forth and one-upping each other, and then Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter, I think it was in 2002, which I thought at the time was the best one I've ever seen. So I actually watched this one.
Yeah, Vince Carter was always a fun one to watch in this.
Yeah, and the thing is, as good as Tracy McGrady was, they were both on the same team too that year. They were both on the Raptors. And they were number one, number two, and Vince Carter just destroyed him. As good of a dunker as Trace McGrady is, or was, but I did watch this.
He's not dead.
Well, I know. He's not playing either.
I know, but the way you basically said that, it was man.
Shaq showed off his dunking skills, even though he's not playing anymore. So
it's true. Actually, Tracy McGrady was in the Celebrity All-Star game. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh yeah. Did you see that clip where he airballed that three when he shot it? Or
I did not. I just watched where he ooped it to himself. You could throw it against the backboard and dunk it.
That's always awkward. It's always awkward to see former professional basketball players the best in the world, and then they come back and they do these types of celebrity things, and they just suck. They're just so bad. It reminds me of during the All-Star festivities for Major League Baseball, and they always have like that celebrity kind of like softball game, and they'll have like big stars, like Darryl Strawberry, I think was on one, and Mike Piazza, he's retired, but he's not old, but he's so frail and skinny because he doesn't have to work out anymore, and he just looked like looked like, and I don't know, but he looked sick, and he couldn't hit, he couldn't run, like he just. I mean, that should be years of being a catcher and just let that, kind of take.
Say his knees are probably shot by now.
Yeah,
but like, I mean, I'm not a professional basketball player by any means.
You're not?
Oh my God!
But I've never.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a breaking news headline right here on the PNP.
I'm breaking the internet right now. but I've never airballed a 3-pointer ever, and I'm not saying I've made every one of them either. But I've never been so bad as to airball. I don't remember the last time I really airballed a shot at all.
Mine was probably the last time I took a shot.
A world-class basketball player, and he airballs a shot. That's just strange to me.
Could be just nerves, dude. He's jittery. Just trying to get out there. He knew all his fans were watching.
To, playing for something that doesn't count.
So, speaking of something that doesn't count, this All-Star game, it doesn't count. It means nothing. The two teams are playing each other. Do you guys like that, this is how the basketball, the NBA does it? It's just, they're out there just basically doing crazy oops and
it's entertaining,
chucking up threes and putting up basically 200 points.
It's a circus.
And you got to give them credit. It's in the middle of the season, so no one is going to really play all out. If I was a head coach and LeBron's in the All-Star game, I wouldn't want him playing all out, potentially getting injured. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still a chance they can get injured at these games, but if they were playing...
Yeah, but it's far less likely.
Yeah. So I think I'm okay with it. It's entertaining. You're basically shooting a 3-pointer or you're dunking it. So it's entertaining to watch from that standpoint. So, it is what it is. If you don't want to watch it, you don't have to watch it, but it's them putting on a show for the fans. Yeah.
And it's more entertaining. Football doesn't, they're obviously not going to hurt themselves, but the Pro Bowl's not, you can't just dunk and shoot up threes in football. There isn't the equivalent of that. It's just, Hail Mary bombs or something, and nobody wants to dive or do anything acrobatic with that anyways. So basketball, it's set up well. I'm fine with it that it means nothing. It's just a way to entertain the fans and for the guys to just kind of take a break, really. But most importantly, and probably what all our PNPers out there are wondering is, Kyle, Sting was at the halftime show. What are your thoughts on it?
You know what? I went and looked at Twitter just because Sting is such a very strange choice for, to me, the more hip hop.
Right. Everyone thought NBA. Drake would be the obvious choice, being from Toronto. It was hosted in Toronto this year. But
he was kind of like the MC of the night anyways. Like, he was everywhere anyway, so there was no sense in him also performing. But he was, when they were announcing all the players, they were basically all going over to Drake and like high-fiving him and stuff like that. So I mean, he was
right. But I think he would have been a more logical choice originally before all of that.
But it's close. It's a close second. I mean, if you can't get Drake, then Sting is the obvious second choice.
They both have one-syllable words in their name. As
a resident white guy, I enjoyed Sting, and it was good to know that he played at least in one of the festivities that I thought he was going to be at.
Can we time out for a minute? Kyle just called himself the resident white guy. Like, my chopped liver on this podcast. How did you become the resident
white guy? I said a resident white guy.
Oh, did he? I thought he said the. All right.
Can I chime in with something real quick?
Please.
So, Desert Rose, message in a bottle, next to you, and every breath you take.
Every breath you take is how he closed the NBA All-Star game.
But that is also the answer to Hoagie's question 2 weeks ago of, I wonder what Sting's going to play at the halftime show.
Oh, thank you. I was rooting for everything she does as Magic, but he never did it, so it's a shame. That would be a good one to close on.
Not every breath you take.
Or Every Breath You Take, whatever the name of the song is.
And maybe, if P. Diddy showed up to it, like, that would have been something. Oh, yeah, absolutely. That beard was fantastic. It was sort of like a Guy Fawkes, but like if it was a full beard and not just the goatee mustache thing.
Yes. Yeah, and I think in the end, I think actually people enjoyed him. I don't think it was a bunch of people just on their phones. I think that there was actually I just heard as far as reviews and people said that he actually did a good job and like he was actually entertaining and everyone was fine with it. So.
Yeah, no, I everything I read on it too seemed pretty positive. And I guess he was like Carmelo Anthony had like some sort of childhood infatuation with Sting, so he got to see that and introduce him. So good for Carmelo because he's not going to do anything else.
And then he found out that when they introduced Sting, they found out it wasn't the pro wrestler. He's like, oh, well, shoot, never mind.
Ah, jeez. Well, anything else you guys want to say about the All-Star game? Because there's really not much else to talk about. It was fun. Sting performed, and Russell Westbrook won MVP. So good for him.
That dude tries. I've never seen a man try as hard as Russell. Blech, God, now you got me doing it.
See, it's a tongue twister.
It is. I've never seen a guy try so hard to get an MVP than Russell Westbrook. Because this is like the third or fourth year now that he's been in the All-Star game, and he always emphatically dunks and like he steals, he blocks shots. Like he's playing like he's going for a title at an All-Star game.
I feel like he always is. Kevin Durant is in the spotlight and is like the guy for the Thunder, and even though Russell Westbrook is a very good player, he always has to fight that spotlight. So it's probably his way of like shining when Durant doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
So we could kind of close things out here. We're going to talk about the Cavs briefly, give our predictions, and wrap things up. So how do you guys, how do you guys feel about the Cavs' chances going forward? How do you feel about the team's build? All that. Where do you see this team going?
I think it's safe to say, knock on wood, it's going to be Cavs, Warriors.
Knock on hardwood, because this is a basketball podcast.
Woohoo! Yeah, nice.
Classic, dude. Classic. Hey, classic Kiser. But I think it is going to be, like Hougie alluded to earlier, I don't think there's any team in the East that will beat the Cavs in a 7-game series. I don't think there's, to be honest with you, I think it's going to be easier for the Cavs to get to the finals than the Warriors. Although if the Warriors keep playing like they're doing, they'll be there just fine.
Absolutely, it'll be easier for the Cavs to get to the finals.
Yeah. But I think it's going to be Cavs, Warriors, and although they don't seem as good, I think that the Cavs, and maybe this is me being a Cavs fan, I think the Cavs...
Haddix is going to go on the record and say he is a Cavs fan.
I'm going to go on the record and say that I'm a Cavs fan, and that if it is Cavs, Warriors in the finals, that the Cavs win. It might take all 7 games, but I think the Cavs win. I think they win last year if it wasn't for how injury plagued they were.
Oh, I agree, and I think Warriors fans might agree with that last year.
Yeah,
that they would.
So that is my thought on the Cavs and my thought on the prediction for the finals.
Hougie, how about you? What are your Cavs thoughts, and you can give your finals prediction as well while you're at it.
I feel bad that the Warriors are doing so well that it really is watering down how good the Cavs are. I think that because right now, if you look at last year, what was the Cavs record last year at this point? I'm sure it's something similar.
It was similar. It actually may be a little bit better this year because the Cavs went on a huge tear at the end of the season.
Right, like I remember the first 2 months, I think they were kind of getting along with what they were trying to do, and for a while they were a 500 basketball team.
Right, and they had traded for Shumpert and JR, I think around December, January last year, and Shumpert was hurt, so they weren't even all kind of together. They were still. And once again, a lot of people, especially like I said, this is on the West Coast, they're less worried about the Cavs this year. They were more worried about them last year, and this could have to just do with the fact of how crazy the Warriors are playing right now. Steph Curry's playing literally.
He's literally playing.
He's playing better than a video game. That's what it comes down to. You cannot make the shots he's making in a video game unless it's NBA Jam and you're on fire. That might be the closest comparison that actually will work.
That's how the game has changed. Where 10 years ago you had usually a couple guys in the post that would dominate, inside, and then they would be able to, every once in a while they would, pass it off to somebody who's open because they had to double team, like a Shaq-like character, and then be able to throw it off to an open guy for a shot.
Kazam?
Or Steele or whoever else is on that team. Now it's so jump shot centric, and it makes, obviously, because Steph Curry is going to break unless something happens to him, he's going to break his own 3-point record by a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he's on pace of breaking it by like 150, which is just unheard.
Well, he's shooting like 11 threes a game and making half of them on the season. So I mean, it's insane.
So I'll go with my prediction and say that if the Warriors continue doing what they're doing, I can't even imagine anybody beating them. Just because for a team that relies on just pure shooting, it's going to get streaky, and that's usually what was always happening with the Golden State Warriors with these players the last couple of years, because they really haven't gotten anybody new. It's just all of a sudden started to gel.
Well, and they have Steve Kerr coaching them better, coaching them to their strengths.
Yeah, and I'll go. Then also, he's Steve Kerr, one of the best 3-point shooters that we've ever remembered too, and so I'm sure he's putting that philosophy on there that 3 points is better than 2. So get a team that can make those shots. And
that's just solid math right there.
I mean, that's good math. That's good algebra right there. But normally teams like that miss a lot of shots. So, it's very streaky. They're not being streaky. They are mowing through people by 20, 30 points just on their pure shooting. So if they're going to continue doing that, the Cavs don't have a chance, let alone anybody else. So what I'm actually hoping for is they run into the Spurs and get taken out by the Spurs. I don't like us going against the Warriors in the finals. I'd rather take on the Thunder or the Spurs.
I agree completely with that. Last year I wanted the Warriors in the finals. I thought we matched up against them the best. I still agree with that statement, even though the Warriors won last year. But this year, I don't want to see the Warriors in the finals, because it means that if the Warriors make it to the finals, it means that they stayed hot, they stayed dominant, they're hitting all their shots, and they'll probably win in 6 games. We see anybody else, and I think the Cavs win it this year. But that said, the Cavs are going to only get better than they are right now. Kyrie's just starting to become fully healthy. He's really starting to gel with the offense. Kevin Love seems to be playing better and differently under Lou. It's a small sample size, so it's hard to say at this point. We'll see how Fry fits in.
Points right now in this game against the Bulls. They're ripping it open right now. I think they're up by almost 20.
Yeah, the Bulls kind of went in give up mode too. They were going to almost trade Gasol, and they've kind of turned into a nightmare over there.
Would you been fine with a Gasol for Kevin Love straight up trade?
No, absolutely not.
See, I feel like I disagree. I feel like I would have actually liked Gasol.
I don't like the idea of trading to a division opponent myself. That's just the first thing of it, but I hate trading away a major portion of a major piece of the team this late in the season, because I think it's a recipe for a disaster. And if there's one thing it's recipes.
What we do with the new head coach. I think that's the thing I'm worried the most about. They're changing everything. He's already said a lot that this team's not conditioned. They're out of shape with the way he wants to play. With this team. They want to be very fast break up and down the court really quickly. They want to be physically imposing, and that was very different to what it normally was, which was give the ball to Kyrie or LeBron, and they dribble around for about 20 seconds, and then they make their mind up what they're going to do.
The good old Mike Brown offense, right there.
Hey, isolation and pick and roll. I mean, that's worked for a lot of teams.
Yeah. I mean, so we'll see how things go. So your prediction, Hougie, Warriors, Cavs, Warriors winning it all. Is that where you're going with?
Yeah. If the Warriors get to the finals, like you said, it leads me to believe they're still steamrolling people. They win in 5.
Yeah, I'll have Warriors in 6, but I'm hoping Cavs over Spurs in 6. But that's just that's the hopeful guy in me.
You got a guy in you right now?
It's only going to get tougher, I think. If we don't get it this year, I think every year, potentially just gets harder and harder.
Well, I'm going to go on record here. Cavs, Warriors, Cavs in 6.
There you go. He went on the record. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that are creating the Haddix's record,
we're going to be listening to this later.
We will replay this. That'll be our opening clip. Will be this last 4 or 5 minutes somewhere in there. We'll splice that clip into our opening segment for our June podcast when we're talking about our NBA Finals preview.
God, I hope you're wrong. Just go Cavs. I hope you're wrong.
Oh, seriously. Oh, dude,
man, jeez.
After you say, I know.
You guys feel free to tweet at PseudoNerdPod and call out Hougie for being a Cavs hater. Guy moves to San Francisco and joins the bandwagon over there. Let me tell you, he's probably wearing his Steph Curry jersey right now.
Even if we were to beat the Warriors and we sweep them in 4, I still say that you're wrong.
Oh, this guy backpedaling. The guy that's saying Warriors in 5 or whatever you said.
I've never seen a guy backpedal so
That's not
quick.
What I'm cheering for. I'm not hoping for. I'm just saying, realistically.
Dude, Hougie, are you running for president? Because you are backpedaling, my friend.
No.
Just call me Hillary Hoagland.
I don't even... We're just going to end the podcast on that one, guys. So, don't forget, follow us on Twitter, iTunes, subscribe, leave comments, feedback. We want all that stuff. For the home of the defunct Cleveland Rockers to the home of the defunct San Diego Spiders, I am Josh Kiser.
San Diego?
It's close enough to you. You are Kyle Hoagland, and he is Josh Haddix. We'll see you guys next week.
Have a good Friday.
That's 10 hours away. Bye.
It's like an hour and a half.